Welcome back to another Crowd Control where we're going to talk about all the board gaming, crowdfunding things going on. We've got a very big launch this week. We've also got a few campaigns that have been running that have also done pretty decent numbers. A lot of people following these things.
Games that I think are definitely worth taking a look at least.
Yeah, the first one we're going to talk about is Massive Darkness Dungeons of Shadowreach. Now, I need to preface this with one thing. I now work for CMON.
Yay, congrats if you didn't know that already.
Yes, thank you. But I want to tell you that for full transparency. So take everything we say with a grain of salt. But if you're a fan of the channel, you'll know that we love some CMON games. So just wanted to put it out there. I work for CMON, but with no further ado, let's start talking about Massive Darkness 2.
I think that your position with CMON came from a love of CMON, not vice versa, right?
Yes.
And I'm a huge CMON fan. In fact, Massive Darkness, when that game first came out, it became one of my favorite dungeon crawlers. So I, for one, am very excited for all the new Massive Darkness content and even like this Massive Darkness role-playing game that's coming out, which is really cool.
There is a lot in the campaign. We can't go into all the details until it launches, but like Ryan just alluded to, there's actually a 5e compatible RPG that's going to be offered on the campaign. But if you're interested in the game itself, this one builds off of what was established with Massive Darkness 2. Massive Darkness 1 came out, some people liked it, it was a pretty big game. But Massive Darkness 2 came out and really hit really big because it fixed some things, it adjusted some things, and one of the things that they really established was all these different hero classes that feel like completely different
the little mini games. That's my favorite part, is like experimenting with these new heroes. And I'm excited to see the new heroes that are coming.
There are some
when it launches.
There are some cool new heroes. We can't go into too many details, but there are new hero classes, and because it was built off of the shoulders of Massive Darkness 2, it is all compatible with each other. So you can use content from Massive Darkness 2 with this one and vice versa. I think that will be the sort of general direction for the property going forward, but there's new hero classes, there's all sorts of new contents and expansions, some other things to sort of scale the difficulty, which is something I think people were asking for last time. But be sure to check that out. CMON's going to have a live stream on Tuesday, giving a sneak peek at what's in store in the campaign, and then the campaign launches on Wednesday.
Now, can I assume that people that are getting into Massive Darkness for the first time might be able to get some of the older stuff too, or is this all new only?
Some, but it's not going to be one of those campaigns where you can get all...
Yeah, there's not a $600 all-in that goes back from the day one, like our next...
all the way back to Massive Darkness 1, no. But there are some things to get so that you can utilize them in sort of all things Massive Darkness going forward.
Yeah, because the one I want to talk about does have that giant all-in, and this is Adventure Time Card Wars. Now, you might remember if you've been watching Crowd Control since the beginning, we talked about the last time they made a campaign was like the 10th anniversary. And that ended up being a huge success, and they've kind of brought that game back into popularity. And so they're following it up now with just a ton of content, and the option, we kind of joked about that a little bit, but there's a giant all-in that lets you go back through all of Card Wars and get all of the Card Wars, which is quite a lot.
I think that all-in includes everything they've ever released. It is, I want to say $600 if I look at the campaign.
But it's a lot of content.
It is a lot. Even just in all new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
$300.
Well, because there's a ton of new stuff. First of all, they're giving you the option to get everything, all the big storage box and all this stuff should fit in that. But they're introducing a bunch of new character packs. We have a bunch, characters I'm not familiar with, but Flame Princess, Fern, the Lich, Prismo, Peppermint Butler, and Magic Man. And I say I'm not familiar with them because I've never seen the show. I've never seen it.
How do you not know Peppermint Butler? I'm just kidding.
I've never seen the show.
The cool thing about these characters, first of all, they're like fan favorites. These are characters that like fans of the game have been asking for. But also, with Adventure Time, the more obscure you go, the better it is for the fan base.
Sure.
And now Flame Princess is not terribly obscure, but some of these other characters are clearly not the lead characters.
Well,
they haven't been in the game to date.
I've seen some of these characters in memes. BMO, this Game Boy, I've seen you can get like a plastic game BMO. Yeah, that's cool.
Just to
I've seen him.
To Ryan's lack of knowledge of Adventure Time, when we talked about this before recording, he said BMO, not BMO.
I didn't know. He had to correct me. But so all of that, you're getting all that. But let's just talk about the game itself, because there is more gameplay here too. It's not just more characters. They've actually introduced a new faction, which is like the Lava Fields. They've introduced a ton of new mechanics. They've introduced new card rules and abilities. They've introduced a cooperative expansion called the Darklands, where you have to kind of conquer the Darklands cooperatively. So they have introduced a ton of new stuff mixed in. And like I said, if you back the 10th anniversary, get the new stuff. But hey, man, it's not too late to get everything.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and you've never heard that there was a game actually made, but you were a fan of Adventure Time, if you're in that really small little cross-section of the audience out there, you got to check this out, because if you're familiar with that episode from Adventure Time, you can floop the pig. And flooping the pig is maybe the best part of Adventure Time Card Wars, at least in the show. I don't know how. Oh, it's probably not overpowered in the game.
I don't know, but
you
I assume
if you haven't watched that episode, go watch that.
Maybe I'll just watch that episode. So that's another one that one's already running and doing super well. And then we have a third one that I think came out and kind of took everybody, just completely captivated board game audience. So you've probably heard of this one, but it's called A Place for All My Books.
Yeah, very cozy.
Super cozy, but also very thinky and very, very puzzly. So not only is the game like adorable, and I think that's part of the reason why it has drawn in a bunch of book lovers. And let's be honest, there's a huge Venn diagram cross section of book lovers and board game players.
I happen to be outside
That's
of one
true.
of those
You
circles. And
you are.
Since I'm on a channel about board games, I'll let you guess which one I'm not in.
But the components are gorgeous. The game is fun and it's very thinky, and it's all about placing your books in puzzles. What I really like, the cool thing about the game is you take actions, but you have a social battery. And every time you leave the house to go like run errands to
you
these
spend 5, right?
you spend your social battery, and then you have to come back home and like rest up and recharge. There's actions like you can get some points just from viewing your books and like feeling satisfied by your book collection all laid out on the shelves. Like, it's very thematic.
Yeah, it does sound very thematic. I think a lot of people will probably be able to relate to that. But like Ryan said, it's incredibly crunchy. I watched a gameplay. You've actually played it. I haven't.
Tantrum Con, yeah.
But you're effectively finding a place for all your books, and you've got all these different scoring cards that you can try to manipulate the board when you're playing. But it's like, oh, I'll move these from here to here, but you don't want to mess up one of the other things that you're trying to do.
Right, it's
got
stinky.
that
It's got a puzzle
level of like, oh, how to make all these things work.
Yeah, it is a super puzzle game, but man, I love anytime you get the little book tokens
it's a
in a
beautiful
game. Oh my, like
the
Sankore.
presentation is amazing, not only inside, but they have a version of it that comes in what looks like a book that you can put on a bookshelf.
Oh yeah, and it's magnetic.
It's brilliant. Oh, is there magnets
Yeah.
involved? I might have to take up reading. The last one we want to talk about is called Twinkle Twinkle. This one is also, I think, cozy as a game.
Yeah.
It's a little less cozy looking than A Place for All My Books, but it's a very similar type of game. But you're looking to the stars and sort of filling your board, the night sky, with all these tiles. You're drafting these tiles, putting them on your board, trying to make constellations, trying to organize them much in the way you're organizing your books, but probably quite a bit less crunchy, because the variable scoring that you have, there's like, I think 10 in the box scoring tiles, and you're going to use, 5 of those?
Yeah.
So a lot of different scoring opportunities. The combinations kind of add up to like in the 30s of different combos.
I mean, there's a ton, and it's simple to play. It's so simple. You take a tile, and you can take the first or the last, and based on what you take, that's your player order for drafting the next tile, and that's it. So it's super easy. Like the information to learn is easy, but then trying to figure out how to best score is where you really like.
Yeah, it's an easy to play. Not hard to master, but less easy to master. So it's going to give something for all levels of players. Plus the production on this, I wanted to point out, they're acrylic tiles, so they're see-through. You can actually rotate or flip them however you want when you're placing them on your board, which is kind of an interesting twist that you don't usually get to do in a lot of tile laying games. But yeah, that's another sort of cozy tile to finish things off. So like I said, we started out big. We ended cozy, but Ryan's got one more
I just wanted to give one shout out to Mr. Meeple's Polo campaign. Just so you don't, in case you don't know, there's a shortage, I would say, of board game clothing. We don't see a ton of board game clothing retailers.
Shortage. I've read about it in the news.
These are cool polos that feature board game iconography. I want to get one with the red meeple. So just shutting out. I thought that was a neat little campaign. It's a neat little idea to make these embroidered polos. And if you're looking for board game clothing, definitely check out that campaign.
And by the way, we're not in any way, shape, or form sponsored by or associated
no,
with Mr.
I just
Meeple.
saw. That is a coincidence.
We share the name Meeple.
We look through these campaigns every week, and I was like, okay, this isn't. We're not going to talk about this one for 10 minutes, but it's cool. Go take a look at the polos.
Is that why you wore kind of a polo?
I did actually.
Today?
No, it wasn't. Not even remotely. Why? Just complete
happenstance?
coincidence.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that is crowd control for this week. If you have any questions at all about any of the campaigns, let us know in the comments below. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.